he still hasn't hit his all-time best. He's not close.
I don't think.
And when he does, I mean, dude, he's in Coleman territory now with the.
What's up, guys, and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness.
So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really.
So let's start this video with the reigning Miss Olympia champion Samson Dawa, as Samson continues his journey of being 330 pounds mass monster. And to think that it has only been 6 weeks since he started this off-season and putting on 30 pounds, that is beyond impressive. So Samson Dawa is a very unique athlete in a sense that he can have a tiny waistline and he can pull a vacuum at such a high body weight, which is something that is totally unprecedented in the entire bodybuilding history. So this must be appreciated and talked about more often, as these guys are also getting a lot of criticism from the legends of the 90s, which is totally fine. You can criticize. That's part of the game.
Say some things to the package that you are there to represent. It doesn't look professional, man. From relaxed, I only saw that today, actually. You guys are so soft. You're so soft. But they are the ones attacking us too.
But the recent comments by the legend Jay Cutler, 4 times Miss Olympia for Samson Dawa, they are definitely going to elevate his motivation to a whole new level going into this year's Miss Olympia.
Shot right now. I feel like Samson shows up like Samson can with this. Sorry, guys.
At the end of the day,
no one's beating him. He's the most complete aesthetic. I mean, people compare him to Lee Haney, so I don't know if is he getting offended by anything Lee's saying?
Now, we know Samson Dawa lost this past Arnold to Derek Lunsford, but as per Jay Cutler, he is the clear favorite to repeat and become 2 times Olympia champion in October, if he comes in hot and dry, and if he can bring an even better conditioning than what we saw from him at the Olympia last year.
Do you think that the guys at the top now, or the guys, should take offense to what they're saying, or should they take it in and say maybe there is some truth to what they're saying, and maybe they're just trying to help make them better? Or do you think they're just taking shots at them?
I think the guy's just going to have thicker skin, but when you hear it over and over and over on different podcasts,
it's annoying, sure.
It does get annoying.
So these comments were made after Jay Cutler saw some of these off-season physique updates from Samson Dawa. And if Jay thinks that size-wise, Samson is the closest anyone has ever gotten to the greatest of all time, Ronnie Coleman, who is gonna refute that? So in other words, the fate of Samson Dawa, that is in his own hands. And if he comes in at his all-time best, possibly better than the Olympia last year, he's gonna walk away with another Sandow. So how many of you guys agree with Jay Cutler's opinion about Samson Dawa? The mutant Nick Walker checks in at 16 weeks out from this year's Miss Olympia, weighing 280 pounds. So his weight is moving up pretty fast, but the definition and the detail and the conditioning, that is all still pretty much there. So he has been called out so many times for having a wide waistline, a blocky waist, all his career. And yet that waist at 280 pounds, that looks very impressive. So Nick has some of the freakiest side legs in all of bodybuilding at the moment. He has some of the nastiest detail in those side shots. And you can see some good amount of detail in there too. Now, I do not know how many of the critics, they want him to gain another 5 pounds of stage weight for this upcoming Miss Olympia. Because let's just assume for a second that Nick Walker controlled his midsection at all times. At this past Pittsburgh Pro, if he kept his midsection tight, he probably would have won that show, beating a former Miss Olympia and the reigning Arnold champion, Derek Lunsford. And truthfully, there is only one guy, Hadi Chopin, who has a great shot at peaking perfectly, just like the mutant, maybe even better than him. So gaining those extra 5 pounds, that could be a risky move. But that being said, that can also pay off big time. Now, we know there are gonna be some doubts in regards to Derek, whether he can peak for another show, 3rd time in 1 calendar year. And that too 100% right, considering how he showed up at this year's Pittsburgh Pro. And the same thing goes for Samson Dawa too. But in regards to Samson, the doubt, that isn't that much. So if Nick comes in with that same hot and dry look as he did for the Pittsburgh Pro this year, while having a very good control over his midsection and keeping it very tight, That could be the ideal case scenario for him. And if some of these other guys miss, then Nick can have a very realistic shot at this year's Olympia title. Now, even if he places top 3, that would be considered one of the most successful comebacks in the recent pro bodybuilding scene, considering he was missing from that same stage for last 2 years consecutively. Next up, we have a 6 weeks out physique update from Justin Shire. So we finally get to see a back shot too, and those lines in his hamstrings and glutes. With another 6 weeks to go, they tell you one thing, that he's gonna be absolutely peeled out of his mind when it is finally stage time. And as I have mentioned this so many times, that physique right there, that is a top tier aesthetic physique in pro bodybuilding in the men's open. And if he can bring more size, which was the goal, which was the reason he took the last entire year off, then he's certainly gonna be one of the favorites to win this year's Tampa Pro, especially if there are some noticeable difference in the back shots. Now having a look at that front lat spread, everything just flows so beautifully, top to bottom, and from the looks of it, he has put on some size too. Now plenty of guys, they're gonna be doing Tampa Pro this year, but Justin is gonna be a former Olympian, a former Chicago Pro champion, and when someone has such an amazing shape, such beautiful structure, then the competition must worry a bit, as he has the ability to get fairly dry and come in very shredded. So that upper back for Justin, that is always gonna be a big weakness for him. And based on this picture, it's kind of too hard to tell at this point whether he has made any noticeable improvements in that area or not. So Justin is making his return to the stage after a gap of almost 2 years. So his expectations, they are gonna be fairly high. The goal isn't just to win a pro show and make it to the Olympia stage. The goal is to make a very big impact, a solid showing at the Olympia this year, and possibly crack top 10. But do let me know, how high can he place if he qualifies? So looking at the most recent physique update posted by Hosstile, aka Marcelo, the muscle group that appears to get the biggest hit in this transition from the men's open back to classic physique, they are his shoulders. And you will be surprised to see how small his delts are looking in this most recent physique update. But that being said, you have got to give him one thing. He does look fairly young, going by his face and protecting his health and his longevity, elongating his lifespan. That was one of the key reasons why he moved away from the men's open, as none of us are gonna deny that they had to rely on a lot more gear, and especially on a lot more food in order to continue to get bigger, and just to maintain that kind of muscle mass, which was obviously required to be successful in the men's open. So Hosstile was spotted doing a stretching workout today. So from the looks of it, it kind of seems like what he's trying to do is to have them measure his height a little more than where he's currently standing, and that is how he's gonna get another 5 pounds added to his stage weight. Now I remember Hosstile was being hyped up so much a few years back when he announced that he's gonna do classic physique, and he failed to make that weight cutoff. So his waist wasn't small even back then. And we saw how he put on a lot of muscle mass to be an open competitor since then. So I wonder how that waistline is gonna look like now that he's back in classic. So how many of you guys are excited to see Ping Yunlong make his first appearance in the men's open bodybuilding at this upcoming Tampa Pro? So this is also going to be Ping's first show since the Olympia back in 2022, where he made his Olympia debut in the 212. And there was just so much discrepancy between his physique from the front to the back, with his back looking like the back of an amateur, especially in comparison to his mind-blowing front and his side shots. So he decided to switch to a bigger division because he was already maxed out for the 212, and it would have been very difficult for him to bring up a lagging body part with that weight cap hanging over his head. And all he was doing was losing some muscle and some pop, trying to make the weight cutoff for the 212 class. So Ping is among those guys with some of the most impressive quads in the pro ranks at the moment. And just wait and see how the separation in his quads that get deeper and deeper with every passing week, and it gets more and more aesthetic. Now I still think that he won't be big enough, especially in a lineup like Tampa Pro, but he will certainly get an idea on how much more work is required. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.